I was 26 at the time and decided that I was going to try to get like a normal, job. And so I moved to New York and I started working in the publishing industry. And it did not take very long for me to realize that I didn't really love the office job so much. And I just got this text from her out of nowhere that said, if you want to do a kelp farm, I would do it with you.
When I moved up here from the lower 48, I was like, wow, Alaskans are crazy for kelp.
Every year there's new players in, so there's a little competition with that.
I think it started as kind of a gold rush mentality. Like, oh man, this is the next big thing. And I think people are waking up that it's a lot harder work than people think.
So it's a lot of just trial and error, but giving the farmers the ability to do so, whether that's financial support or an insurance program, I think would enable farmers to really do more experimentation and take bigger risks.
And I think once the market is better developed, then there'll be more interest from fishermen to diversify into kelp farming.
So this is the hatchery. And the base of the hatchery is a 40-foot shipping container. And we bought it decommissioned. The refrigeration equipment doesn't work, but that's okay. A hatchery needs just a few things to be successful. To grow kelp, you need water, nutrients, light, and temperature control. And what's great is you can feel the temperature out here. We're about 44, 45 degrees. Right about 50 degrees Fahrenheit is kind of optimal for kelp growth. So even through the fall, we don't have to do a lot of temperature augmentation to here, which is fantastic. We don't use any sort of circulating system to regulate temperature. We just control the air temperature and let that the water will equilibrate eventually with the air temperature. As long as it's held stable, the water has held stable at the right temperature and everybody grows and is happy. Excellent. So come on in. We will have the capacity to grow around 200,000 feet of seed line in this little room here in this container when everything is fully set up. We can get these set up in just a matter. I will have a whole build list for this hatchery. And so if people want that, I'll give it away for free. I'm not trying to monetize this. That's something that a lot of people want to do, right? They see an opening in this industry and they want to monetize something, they want to put together a package and they want to sell it for a lot of money. Realistically, what would I sell? 5 or 6 hatcheries in Alaska? And what would my cut be of that? Probably not a lot. I'd rather just give that information away, bolster what we're doing. We've partnered with Greenwave, so I work closely with them. They've recently put together their own modular hatchery system and shipping container, different orientation. So it'd be nice to work with them to have kind of a menu of different choices. What would you like? What works for you? Let people come and tour my hatchery, go tour the Greenwave hatchery and see if there's a system that they think would work better for them.
The mariculture hatchery at the Science Center operated in 2023 with a crude setup that was successful, yet there was a lot of contamination. So we learned some valuable lessons about proper temperature and filtration. With this setup, it's going to be protein skimming, removing food for these organisms, and then it's going to be filtering UV, which is supposed to kill them, and then it's going to be filtering a sediment size down to 0.2 microns, which is going to hopefully remove them entirely from the water, and it's going to do this constantly, forever and ever, until I put the water in the tank. Every hatchery in Alaska is going to be using this setup soon, and so we're all going to be standardizing the way we do it, which is fantastic, and that's partly the help of Greenwave.
In this incubator, I'm trying to get spore release, so it's set at certain parameters where I have a very specific light intensity, very specific temperature, and light duration. And this one is the one where I'm hoping to get the most spore release. And then once I get spore release, I'm kind of seeing where they grow best after.
All our seaweed production gear is here as well. These buoys are primarily for the seaweed cultivation, so these are used to hold the seaweed grow lines at, at whatever level we designate in the water. And in this case, typically 3 meters. And we see grow lines over here.
Sit over there.
Yeah. So this is a typical grow line. We use a couple of different manufacturers to try how they are. This is the blue steel. It's a 3/8 3-strand line. And this is another manufacturer. This is the one we prefer. It's a little softer lay. It's what we've used for the whole time. Most of this line has been through 5 harvests now. Every mooring has 90 feet of this chain, which weighs about a ton, as a way of doing 2 things. One, it helps the mooring stay on the bottom, but also it provides for all of the systems are tensioned. As the tide comes up and that comes off the bottom, creates lateral tension. So it keeps the system active, right? Instead of letting it flop around. So it's very important to keep that tension across the system to provide stability. Your gear doesn't rub against each other, easier to access the rows.
So this is a 17-acre lease. So this is like a catenary unit between those buoys. Long lines are going this direction. I would call those set lines, these lines that kind of cross diagonally along the farm. That's to like stabilize. And this is another one, but this is actually a bull kelp set. That's why there's not nearly as many buoys, is because this is eventually will start floating itself. So what we've done is we've taken the basic catenary idea and we've kind of adapted it, making the system a little bit more robust. We have, weather's a real big issue, tide, wind, debris, things like that. And so we've kind of Alaskanized the catenary system, I guess. It is really different at every site.
We're fortunate in part because it's a really productive site. We've got a lot of freshwater input off of nearby glaciers, and it's protected from a lot of storm winds, but also has a fair fetch out of the north.
I had been seeing what the farmers in Kodiak had been doing. We tried to build a farm based off of that concept, with supplies that we had on hand in Cordova, and that didn't really work as well as we had hoped the first couple of years, and so we ended up working with Cliff Gowdy on with Tend Ocean, and we got a Tend Ocean catenary array. This year was our first year farming with that type of system, and we now have more kelp than we know what to do with this year.
Being a fisherman, I frequent a lot of these areas a lot, and I have access to them, so I can just come to it like in between trips and just check out one spot as opposed to another. And this spot, it's really a balance between the close proximity to Juneau, current, and then having the right substrate to grow a certain species, bull kelp. This area had this little jetty right over here, and that grew a bunch of bull kelp, so I knew it was able to grow here.
We have huge tidal swings here in Southeast Alaska, and right now we're at a pretty significant swing. We're at what we call max flood, as all that water's coming back in as the tide comes in. And all that motion, that current, is actually pushing the kelp down under the surface, so it's almost sitting at 45 degrees and flagging in the wind of the current.
And gains a lot of nutrients too.
Oh, it's amazing. It's so thick.
So this is split kelp.
Eventually, as it grows, it'll just kind of break off into like longer blade sections, almost look like your hand, like a palmated blade. It's a relative of sugar kelp, but it's a little bit thicker and heavier, a little bit more leathery as well. But it's sweet. I mean, if you come over and smell it, it has a really nice sweet smell to it, and it tastes really sweet too. He just wants it frozen, right?
Yeah. And he only wants 40 pounds, so.
Total?
Yeah.
Everybody was going out and cutting the kelp off the line, and I thought, why don't we just harvest it on the line, bring it in. If you could bring it in off the farm, if you could show up and harvest an entire farm in a day, and then come to town where things are affordable, labor is easier, you move your whole operation from out there where it's weather dependent to in here. Our setup this year is a little bit different. This time we modified things a bit to accommodate the different style. We wanted more deck space. We wanted the shredder raised up so that it could dump straight into the IBC totes.
This boat, which is this company called Mothers of Millions, they got into Windy Bay last night. So we got in here at about 7:30 this morning, and today we harvested all the kelp.
The teeth are very, very aggressive.
So this is the culmination of months and months of work.
So far, I'd say our trials were like pretty inspiring.
This is the tender that the companies hire to haul from the farmers to us. So they put in refrigerated seawater, they put the bags in, transport them, and then we offload them into totes, and that's how we started. So that's how it gets to us.
Definitely more efficient than a skiff.
Yes, and that's how they used to do it right away. I mean, they used to come right from their grounds over here in their skiff and, 4 bags at a time or whatever. And now these guys have 30 bags.
How's it looking?
Oh, it looks really good. You can kind of tell by this dark coloring that it's really healthy and nutrient rich. If it gets a little pale, that means it's more nutrient devoid. So this kelp looks really good.
Okay, excellent. And what are we doing with it right now?
Okay, yeah, so the kelp will get dumped onto this table here. We have someone giving it a coarse cut so it fits in the box easier. It gets transported down here and put into this box where it's conveyed down to the end, put onto the scale, and it'll get topped off right around 50 pounds. After that, we'll put a label on it, put them on a pallet, and it goes into the blast freezer where it'll freeze for about 16 hours.
It requires private capital to come into the industry and support both efficiency, scale, and the production technology and processing technology to do that value-added production. We're adapting in Alaska right now by utilizing existing seafood processor capacity. We built the wash tank. This was repurposed salmon processing equipment.
So yeah, come on in. These are drum dryers. They were designed technically for drying tea leaves, but we have retrofitted them to dry kelp, which is some similar but also different.
So we're trying to figure out, as soon as you take the seaweed out of the water, it immediately starts to degrade. You've got maybe 12 to 24 hours to get it into a stable format before it really starts to lose value quite precipitously. Thinking very, very deeply about distributed systems for stabilization and preservation that can happen in the context of the farmers who are producing this product, and creating systems that allow them to capture more of the value that they're creating.
We also have expensive utilities, which make it cost preventative. So these things are hurdles that we have to overcome, use unique solutions to overcome, which we do for the fishing industry. Like, we're capable of these unique solutions.
We have a biorefinery of any sort, whether for biostimulants or bioplastics, and we have an actual facility in Cordova where we're doing the processing ourselves. I think it can play a large part in helping diversify the economy, not only in the shoulder seasons, possibly year-round.
To process it and ship it, I think that would help out a lot of fishermen in the time when they're not fishing.
You could sell your own kelp directly to a buyer if you have a market, but you could also band together as a group and sell large amounts of kelp to large buyers collectively. And so everybody benefits from that. It's all part of the scaling up.
We started with this plan in part after reading that publication from the University of Maine, and we were really looking to use available local infrastructure to dry the kelp, and high tunnels are something that are abundant in part because of the boom in small-scale agriculture on the peninsula. We're really fortunate to have this partnership with Salmon Sisters and to be working at their fish processing plant. It's a really great collaboration, and it's a great space. It's right near the harbor, and we're able to bring the kelp in over the dock and process it here. We've got a saltwater well. So we're trying to use the local infrastructure. But really, beyond processing, we really need to figure out not only, we know how, as humans, we know how to process kelp. The question is, how do we want to process it here to match it up with existing or emerging markets? And so the other, and I think increasingly more important part of the equation is that marketing piece. Where is this kelp going to go? Who's going to use it? And then backing that up, how are we going to process the kelp in a way that fits those markets?
20 years ago, kale was a garnish, right? And now it's a center of the plate type meal. And that's because they had marketing, people tried it, they liked it. And the same model needs to occur with seaweed.
We need the Got Kelp campaign, basically.
So we're growing 6,000 feet of bull kelp. This year that bull kelp is going to go into a fertilizer trial, and then the Saccharina is going to go to a ambient stabilization trial, which I'm pretty excited about. So
this is the sustainable production of biomass that can go into a million different products without freshwater input, without fertilizers. It's a much lower impact on the environment process than terrestrial farming. So I think that's really the saving grace and really the environmental, happy story about kelp.
Right now we have a partnership with Dr. Erin Oliver. She's with the Washington State University, but she has a fellowship with the USDA there, and she's a soil scientist. And so I gave her some kelp over the winter to see what happens when you add it to soil in the lab. She saw some really encouraging results with bacteria in the soil that really, really love kelp.
You can see like our finest grind. This is dried sugar kelp. This is our large grind. We have our furikake, which is one of our most popular kelp seasonings. But this is our bullwhip kelp hot sauce. We'll try our chili crisp next. Campfire kelp salsa. So we make 20 different SKUs. Most of the bottle is kelp. Yeah. So it's that savory umami flavor. We found that hot sauce eaters are adventurous. So this has been a great product line for us to introduce new eaters to kelp.
Yeah. No, well done. I'm trying to hide my hiccups here.
In Alaska, we're starting the process as a statewide basis through the Build Back Better market development program to build that market, understanding demand, go to the marketplace and find out what is it that's going to resonate with consumers, and let that guide our production and product development process.
These markets have been so food-based that we're just starting to dip our toe into, hey, maybe this has better alginates for makeup, or maybe this is just a great biomass for volume.
Right now the major focus is the biostimulants as well as agri-feeds, which are more, that product's under research and development right now, and of course the more market demand and interest in that'll push that along.
I think right now we have a really great group of kelp farmers that is learning and can help new people come on board.
And so we really need to pool our resources in Alaska.
Agriculture has boomed and busted in a way where it got too big too quick. We can create a sustainable local food system that also nurtures the local environment.
Lots of opportunities for jobs and people here that are ready to be a part of the industry. I'm just really looking forward to what we're doing here and getting our roots to the ground.
I really hope that continues to give back and help gain some support through the fishermen too, because they'll see, oh hey, this is not only creating a job for me, but it's making maybe my fish prices go up because now the cannery is spending less money to send these workers home. They're going to be able to stay here longer and do different things, and at the same time create this ecosystem that the fish that they rely on potentially could come back better, you know? I don't know. It's all of those things. I know that's a lot of hypotheticals, but that's kind of my dream.